Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today I am building something from an old video game. I've been sick for the past couple of days and I was like binge watching some YouTube. And you know when you kind of go into a lull and you don't really stop it from auto-playing? It somehow got on Jacksepticeye's replaying of Shadow of the Colossus, and as I was watching him play through that game, there was a load screen that came up that had this cool looking mask on it, and I thought, why not build that mask? So today we are going to build a Shaman mask from Shadow of the Colossus out of foam with a free template down in the description. Let's get to building. For this build, I'm going to use some 6mm EVA foam for everything but the ears. Those will get some 10mm. Start by cutting out the free pattern that is down in the description of the video. Make sure to read the cover letter on my template if you plan on making a build. It goes over all the markings, materials, special instructions you may need. You notice I combined the main piece to its left and right side so that they're cut together. You don't have to do this, but if you want to eliminate that seam on the front and the middle, this is a nice little trick. I do a quick rough cut of my pieces to make them more manageable as I cut my edges. Keeping the pattern close at hand, I work through the stack piece by piece. You could mark your angle cuts out on the foam. I just keep referencing back to my pattern as I cut. Some parts have angled marks on them with blue or yellow lines. These are explained in the cover letter. Sorry about the voice. Some of you know that I'm a school teacher in my day job, and 2 days before school started this week, I caught COVID. I've been tired all this week, sound like trash, and lost my sense of smell and taste. Hooray! At least building makes me feel a little bit normal. Assembly is pretty simple. There are only a couple of pieces of this build. I put down a layer of contact cement and let it set up for a couple of minutes until it looks no longer wet. I like to start by closing up the darts. Those are the large V-cuts that help make the part rounded. Then it's just a matter of following the registration marks. These are the U-shaped marks on the edges. These are there to help you align parts with corresponding bits. I might have missed an edge on my contact cementing. I'll get that. Normally I do one half at a time, but the pattern is pretty simple, so I'm giving it all a go at one time. The ears connect to the top edge of the mask. Once I figured out the spacing, I went ahead and marked it on the template so it'd be easier for you if you tried this build. The two random U marks at the top are where they kind of fit in between. When you tack it to the edge, make sure that it's flush with the front. A portion will hang off of the back because it's thicker foam. Eventually I sand a bevel onto the back to transition it. I wanted to use 10mm here so that it'd be a little more rigid. Now it's time to smooth over my edges. If you have large areas of unevenness, you may want to use a sanding drum, but if you're relatively close, a stone bit will help you sneak up on it and make a smooth finish. Once I level off my seams, I pull some reference images up and start adding the weathered grooves into the mask. Using the same sanding drum, instead of hitting the material on the side, I tilt the bit up and use the corner on the top. Go in the direction that the rotary tool is spinning and push it in slightly on the material. Get a feel for it with light pressure before you begin being more and more bold with your passes. It will remove a substantial amount if you push down too hard or pull down too hard. Two coats of Plasti Dip. I then hit it with a mix of white and light brown spray paint. Now on to the hand painting. The rest of the details were added on with just basic acrylic paints. I wanted to start by making the surface a little less solid. There are some subtle variations in the color already, but I'm trying to make it look like it's an old weathered mask. Mixing some white, brown, and black, I dab it on with a chip brush and then switch over to a sponge to spread it over more unevenly. Areas too solid, I pull back with a paper towel while the paint is still wet. After a couple of passes, I get the look I'm going for. Looking at only a few kind of blurry images of this as a reference, I had a hard time settling on the accent color. Some looked more red and some looked more orange. I'm sure it changes depending on lighting in the game. Some even had this kind of terracotta pot looking colors, so that's eventually what I decided on. It seemed a bit more sun weathered to me, so there you go. I painted on the nose and the ears first, then switched to a gray around the eyes. I watered down that gray a little bit and then covered over the side of the nose so that I get a little bit darker area there. Once all of this was dried, I did a brown wash over all the cracks so that I could get the brown down into all those nice details we carved. In the image I looked at, there were a lot of darker lines around the eyes, so I thinned out some black paint with some water and used a fine tip brush to paint on the remaining details, mainly focusing on around the eyes, nose, and edges. I don't think that the intention was cell shading, but it kind of gave me that vibe. Instead of my normal elastic banding, I thought I would make it a bit more adjustable with some suede cording instead. I tie knots on the ends of each cord and then 2 of them together. My thought is that it will offer more resistance when I glue it into the mask when pulling so it doesn't just slide out. I then take a thin strip of 2mm foam and glue my cord to it. Then the cord gets sandwiched between the mask and the 2mm. The design of this mask reminds me of a ceremonial mask from various tribal cultures. By using this cord, it'll also make it easier to hang on a wall. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, I think it turned out pretty decent. It is by no means perfect, but at the same time, I think it is cool to bring something to life, especially from older video games that you don't see a lot of people requesting or cosplaying as, just for fun to kind of make something nice and easy. This took me about a day to piece together. Not too terribly hard of a thing to do, and with the template it could take you a couple of hours, so yeah. Maybe you will try and make one of these yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to pull something from an old school video game, bring it into the real world, and hang it on a wall to show your dominance. Yeah. Maybe you'll get some
yay!
And inevitably they're gonna ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these. Tell them, much props. I'm gonna go pick a place to put this on a wall. Unless you want to wear it. I mean, that's cool. Here you go. If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and want to see more builds like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on my Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.